Hello friends and welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're going to make Popeye's fried chicken made at home. So everything you see on my counter is what we're going to use to make this chicken, and the best thing you can say about making this at home is, you know what, you go to the restaurant, stuff is expensive. For what I'm making here, and I'm making a lot of chicken, I can do this for a third of the cost. And mine tastes great. And it's an amazing thing to know that you can make this stuff at home and you don't have to go to the restaurant to get it. But also, I have a variety going on here between the fact that I'm making chicken wings, then I have legs, I have some breast that's boneless chicken breast, which I'm going to cut into tenders. So I got like all these different things going on with the same great taste, and that's a wonderful thing. So we're going to take out our chicken breast and cut off all the fat that's on it, and basically you're just going to like go around the edges, make sure there's no fat underneath, and then we're going to slice these into strips, and we're going to use those strips to actually make our chicken tenders. So that's the really cool thing about it. With two of these breasts here, I'm going to get about like 7 chicken tenders out of the deal, and that's just amazing to get that much out of it. And then besides that, I already have like, chicken wings, chicken legs going with this. So there's something here for everybody in the family. So if not everyone likes a certain thing, if they don't like the wings or the legs or whatever, then there's the tenders, and you can just do whatever with this. So we're going to put all of this chicken into our bowl, and then we're going to cover it with buttermilk, which means we're going to put in at least 3 cups of buttermilk, maybe a little bit more, until it's coated and covered. And then we're going to set this aside to let it do its thing with marinating. And it's going to take on some flavor from the buttermilk, but we want to leave this in there for a couple hours. So you could put plastic wrap around the top, put it into your refrigerator, let it do its deal, and then come back to it when you're ready to do the rest of it. So as that's doing its deal, we're going to go ahead and start mixing up the other things we're going to need to coat this chicken. So we have 3 large eggs, and we're going to break those up and mix them up a little bit. And then we're going to get ready to add in other ingredients, because this is going to give it like a coating of hot on the outside by the time we're done. We're adding 1/3 cup of water. And then we're going to add Louisiana hot sauce to this. Now, if you want these to be on the just average chicken taste, not really hot, just regular chicken, you can add about 1/2 cup of hot sauce. If you want to dial up the heat a little bit, you can put 3/4 cup in there. And that way it's going to give it more of an edge to it. That's your choice how you want to do that. But anyway, once you get all this in a bowl, mix it up. And this is going to be what we're going to dip the chicken into while we're getting ready to bread it soon, because we're going to make dry ingredients and wet, and we're going to use them both to do this. Now we're going to make up the dry. So we're going to start off with 3.5 cups of flour. This is just general all-purpose flour. Then we're going to add in 1/2 cup of cornstarch. Then after that, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of pepper to this. Once we get that in there, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of Cajun seasoning. Now, if you wanted this to be a little more spicy, you can add another tablespoon. Then you're going to add 3 teaspoons of cayenne pepper and 2 teaspoons of paprika. Then after that, we're adding 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. And those all just went at the same time. And we're going to mix this up because we want to get all the seasoning distributed throughout the flour and make sure the cornstarch and everything just really just works its way through. And then we're going to bring our chicken back at this point because it's had time to sit in the milk and do what it needed to do. And we're going to drain this buttermilk out of it because we don't need it at this point anymore, because as we go to mix it, we're not really using that at all at this point. So once it's drained out, we're going to put the chicken back in the container, or if you can drain it without knocking the chicken out, go ahead. And then we're going to go ahead and take that chicken and we're going to dip it into the dry mix that we had. And we're going to do this piece by piece until we get each one of these coated. You want a really decent coating of the flour mixture on the outside of these, because we're going to build. We're not just going to stop here. We're going to take this after we do this part and then take that spicy mix that we made, dip each one of these again, and then bring them back to the flour one more time. So they're basically going to be like double dipped. And that way they're going to get a really good coating of the dry mix on the outside of them. And that's what we're trying to get here, is we want that coating on the outside from the stuff that's in the flour it's got like so much seasoning. That's going to give it such a great taste. But then the hotness of the hot sauce that's mixed with the eggs and the water is going to just add to it. So keep going until you've hit every single one of these, and then we're going to go ahead and dip them into the next mix. Now, one thing you need to remember when it comes time to cook this chicken, all of these are different sized. So bone-in stuff takes longer to cook than stuff that doesn't have a bone in it. So these tenders are going to take a lot less time to cook than if you were making like the legs or the wings. And even the legs and the wings are a little bit different in time. So you're going to have to stay on top of it to make sure that it's cooked completely through. You could use a thermometer if you wanted to, or you can just basically eyeball it. So as you can see at this point, we are taking everything that we had in there with the dry mix on it and hitting it into the hot sauce, egg, and water, and then dipping it again, and then setting it aside onto a platter to get ready to fry this. So at this point, you're going to need to actually have a large skillet ready, and you're going to need to put oil in this, and I would put at least a couple of inches or more of oil in it, so that way when these sit down in there, they got a fair chance to at least have half of them covered as they're cooking with oil, because you're going to turn these as you go, but you want to make sure that the way it's sitting in there, that it actually has a good chance of cooking. So when you're cooking this stuff, if you're doing the bone-in things like the legs and the wings, I would give them anywhere from 15 to 18 minutes to cook, but you're going to turn these a couple of times during that period. If you're doing the tenders, I could say cut that in half, because you really want to get them to a point where they're cooked and browned on the outside. You don't want to overcook them. You don't want them too brown. But if you can watch your time on these, you'll get this done really easily. But like I said, anything with the bone in, 15 to 18 minutes. And I'd say with chicken legs, especially if they're large chicken legs, you need at least 18 minutes on that, because we don't want the blood to be in the center of it as you're cutting into it or whatever. So we're going to go ahead and finish dipping this chicken and getting ready to go to the frying stage. Do not put your chicken into your oil until it's hot. You want to get this temperature up to somewhere like, at least a medium to high heat. We want it over 350 degrees in there, so that way when the chicken cooks, it cooks well. We don't necessarily just want to put it in there when the oil is cold, because all your breading is going to start to come off and it's just going to be greasy, nasty chicken, and we don't want that. Now, when you cook your chicken and you pull it out of the pan, you want to let it sit somewhere so that way as it's cooling, the oil comes off. I'm using a rack on top of a pan so that way it can drip through. If you put this on a plate with paper towels, you're going to get a greasy mess. If you do it like this, it'll stay crunchy. So just a tip. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add in our chicken to do our deal here. Just a reminder, when I am cooking anything like this and I'm using utensils to put stuff in and out of a pan, I wash my utensils in between, and I wash my hands in between, especially if you're dealing with chicken. Please wash your hands. We don't want to cross-contaminate. So if you see my tongs coming in at one point now and coming in later, they've been washed in between. So just keep that in mind. You don't want to cross-contaminate while you're cooking. So my chicken's in. You can see my oil is hot. And we're going to let this cook. And then as we get probably to about 7 or so minutes into it, we're going to turn it. And as you can see, it's already cooking on the bottom. So keep turning, keep checking it. Turn it as much as you need to. See, because all of this right here is bone in. So that's why this, I kind of try to keep to itself, and I'm going to do the tenders to itself later. But once you get it done, bring it over, sit it onto that rack to cool so it'll drip off, and then you can bring in your next bit of chicken that you're doing. And just keep going and time it to make sure that you've had them in there long enough to cook. And when it's done, it'll look something like this. And this has the best fried chicken taste you're ever going to want. And I even made some Cajun fries to go with mine. They're just like Popeyes, which I have a video for that coming soon. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And if you get a chance, check out the Southern Mountain Kitchen website, where you can get a free recipe, check out the cookbooks available from the Southern Mountain Kitchen, and if you'd like to, you could order a cookbook at a discounted price, cheaper than Amazon, with shipping that is also cheaper than Amazon. So if you get a chance, check it out, and I hope you have a great day.